Hey friend, it's me Vasco with a quick announcement. We at the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast are organizing this year's Scrum Master Summit. For tickets and details on the summit, check out the URL bit.ly/SM Summit 22. All one word, SMSUMMIT 22. And now, on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And this week we have joining us from Portugal, Luís Silva. Hey, Luís, welcome to the show.
Hi, Vasco. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Luís is not your typical Agile coach. He doesn't actually have an IT background, although he is working in an IT company. He worked his way from a contact center up to Lean and Agile Coach and is now the Agile Coach lead at OutSystems. Luís, that was a short intro. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
Yeah, that three-liner almost is a perfect explanation of this funny story. My background is in media studies, and that didn't go well. And as there was this big crisis in 2011, when I tried to get into the job market, things were going very rough. And all of a sudden, being a call center agent was the best opportunity I got in a bank. That's when I had the chance to reinvent myself. I needed to learn skills that I never thought that I would have to learn, both in terms of banking, which is something I never considered working in, and as a call center agent, which is something I never before that had considered doing. Truth is, with hard work and dedication, I was able to build my way up in that company. And there was a point where I got lucky and got the chance to apply for a role in managing indicators and metrics in the same team that was actually doing Lean in the bank. And soon after, they realized I could be a Lean coach, and that's what I did. They brought me in, and I was able to actually build myself into a Lean coach, learning the techniques, learning the processes, learning how to deal with people, and learning a lot about IT, because that's when I entered the IT world as well.
Yeah, most banks these days are actually IT companies. They just don't know it yet, right?
I'd say most companies are IT companies. They just don't know it yet.
Absolutely. So, Luís, there's a very unique route to the Scrum Master job through the Lean background, which I sympathize with because that's my background as well. That's what I started studying before I even knew what Scrum was. Maybe that's why I'm excited to ask you the next question, because your perspective is certainly going to be different than the average Scrum Master that has an IT background and never learned Lean, right? Which is the story of failure. And one of the key aspects, of course, in Lean is the continuous improvement. That's one of the many, but definitely a very key aspect of the Lean approach. And I'm curious to learn that story, a story of a moment where you, as a Scrum Master, you did your best, but at that time, there was still a lot to improve. So tell us that story, Luís.
Yes, there are a lot of them, and it's tough to choose only one. I usually say that battle scars are how we build ourselves to have this Scrum Master and coaching roles. They're the ones that stick, and they're the ones that allow us to make an impact in the future. One of the biggest failures I had was related to team morale, which is by itself a very sensitive topic. So there was this team that had their morale completely affected. You could see it in their behavior, in their conversations, in the way they acted in their daily lives. And this was both about context, happiness with what they were doing, and also with outlook that they had on the role, on even the application they were working in.
So they expected all the bad things would happen to them, I'm guessing. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, and truth of the matter is that a lot of them were happening to them. And we're talking about old style leadership in the midst of this. A team just being, I would say, forced, and that's mistake number one, to change into Scrum without the company being ready for it, which is even harder. But that is contextual. How I feel I failed to them was with this team morale, because I was starting my journey, and I thought I need to make this transparent somehow, because it's not easy to showcase team morale and just say, guys, motivation is low. We need to do something about it. So then you start getting tough questions. But what and why? And how do I know that it's true? So what I did was very simple thing. I created the Niko Niko board. Those where people just say how they are feeling on that day. And we're still in a world that not everybody was remote. We weren't remote. So I printed out this Excel spreadsheet, very easy. I even drawn the eyes. All that the team needed to do was draw the mouth.
Just to put a smile or a sad,
Or a
yeah,
frowny
yeah, yeah, yeah.
face. Yes, that was the only thing, or a straight line. I just wanted to know how certain things affected the team to be able to identify them. They had problems with releases, for example. They would have problems with scope change. They had a lot of problems on their daily lives. I just wanted to be able to start correlating all of this cause and effect and showcase it to management. And the biggest failure is that I didn't understand truly the why they were feeling that way, because you know what, they didn't use this Niko Niko board once.
So they ended up not using it at all.
No, they didn't end up using. They didn't use it at all, and this was one of the biggest failures I had, because for me to get this, glued up upon a wall, I needed to ask permission on this company to work in. I worked in. So I needed to go through a series of management meetings just because of this. I needed to convince the team to actually have that in their workspace, and then they didn't use it. I didn't do enough discovery on the why. I didn't ask them the valuable questions of why was the team morale low. And a lot of that was not related with the context that I thought it was. I assumed too much.
Can you give an example of that? Like, what did you assume that was totally wrong?
Yeah, I assumed that it was wrong because they had a bad release cycle that was very straining on the teams. It had a lot of manual effort to it. They had to basically handpick what they wanted to send into production, for example. I assumed that it was because the manager was very rough on the team, and that this caused a big concern. I was assuming that it was because sometimes business side was asking for a scope change that was very urgent, and this is what would cause.
But those are all logical reasons. One would easily assume that those could lead to bad morale.
Yeah, but that's why we need to be different and lead by example. It's not the first things. You need to dive into the root cause, which is a very lean thing to do, and which I failed doing by then. And the root cause actually had nothing to do with this. The guys were, most of them were actually very junior, but the thing is, most of it had to do with outlook on the team. They said that they didn't think that they had anywhere to go there, and it also had to do a lot.
So they thought they had no career advancement options.
Yes, they had no career path to go through. And another thing is that I was unaware. I don't know. For a long time, I was unaware that there was how do you say? Sorry, I'm missing the name. Slipped my mind. There was a hiring process for similar roles, or for my company to change companies, and they were very upset because of that, because they didn't know if that would affect them or not, and if they would keep working there.
So they were uncertain about even their future role, their future position.
So this is things that have nothing to do with the Niko Niko boards. They are much deeper things. They are contextual.
Basic security, right?
Yes. And I was thinking that their problems were at one level of their concern pyramid, right? And it was way below. I completely missed it.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. I guess you're talking about the Maslow hierarchy of needs. I'll put the link on the show notes so that's a great metaphor as well, right? Like we need to make sure we're addressing the right level of that pyramid of needs when working with teams that are in a tough spot.
Yes, because, if their basic needs are not being met, they cannot even concern themselves, or people cannot even concern themselves with other things. And I was thinking that their problems were technology related, and I was clueless by then. That's the truth of the facts, is that I was way over my head, and things didn't go as I expected to, and it was one of my biggest failures. And if
but
you
also a huge learning opportunity there.
And
I bet you applied that many times after that story happened.
I do. And the thing is, it's a Niko Niko board that created all of this, which is probably one of the most simple artifacts you can have.
Absolutely. And I'm reminded of the Jerry Weinberg phrase, no matter how it may look at first, it's always a people problem. This story is a great illustration of that. Thank you for that, Luís Silva.
No problem.
Hey friends, it's Vasco again, now with a bit longer announcement. I'm part of the team that is behind the Global Scrum Master Summit, the conference dedicated to the Scrum Master role. If you're a Scrum Master, the Scrum Master Summit is the place to learn, to share, and of course to meet new friends. We will have lots of live sessions where you can meet and network with other Scrum Masters from the whole globe. So make sure you check it at bit.ly/SM Summit 22. We have several amazing keynotes and 7 tracks that feature people like you and, of course, thought leaders sharing their insights, their knowledge, and helping you become an awesome Scrum Master. You can check out all of the details of the summit, including the keynotes announced, the track chairs, and much more at bit.ly/SM Summit 22. That's all one word. That's bit.ly/SM SUMMIT and the numeral 22. I'll see you on the conference floor.